feel the closeness that we have and that we are truly each other's supporters, that it's nice to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as a performer, as a radio performer, broadcaster, yeah. There's a level of comfort whenever you have a similar rhythm with someone.
It's so important.
Oh,
that's why Power English works. Oh my goodness. Okay, enough praise about
talking about ourselves.
Let's talk about foraging with grandma. The guidebook says.
Yes.
So my cousin called me a few days ago and she was like, I listened to your thing. What is that for? What is that word?
It's a weird word.
It is a weird word.
Yeah.
So it's foraging. It's like not foraging, it's like foraging.
Foraging.
Yeah. It's like not foraging, foraging. Okay. And this, of course, means to go out into the wild and to pick vegetables and, plants and stuff like that.
I wonder if it's related to forest foraging.
I wonder. I kind of do wonder.
The forest.
You are going into the forest. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to listen to a dialogue regarding this, foraging experience.
Yes.
If this bears a resemblance to B, what does this mean?
This means it looks similar to. They're similar in appearance.
Okay. How about if you are armed, A-R-M-E-D, with something? Now, think of not the arm, 팔, but armed as in like weaponry.
Right.
Yes.
So this means that you have some type of equipment, especially some type of equipment or tool that is useful in performing a task.
Okay. And how about if you make sure?
This is a way of being careful that you don't forget something.
Okay.
You will definitely do something.
All right. Let's go ahead and listen to our dialogue.
This mushroom isn't as easy to identify. It bears a resemblance to a very poisonous one.
What should you do if you aren't sure?
With mushrooms, you should put them in a separate bag and inspect them closely when you are armed with a guidebook or an expert.
Lucky for me, I have both today.
Make sure you can identify it properly before you make the worst decision of your life.
Okay. The guidebook says if the underside is brown and not blue, it's safe.
Let's begin our dialogue. Grandma says, this mushroom isn't as easy to identify. It bears a resemblance to a very poisonous one. Okay, so this mushroom, everybody knows that mushrooms can be very dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because some of them are poisonous.
Yes.
Now, this one bears a resemblance to a very poisonous mushroom. So, bears a resemblance is a very difficult way of saying it looks like.
Yeah.
So, why would we use this?
I think Jane Austen. I don't know. If you look at the words the phrasing of this is old.
It
kind
is.
of like a Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice. When you watch those movies or read those books, where they say things in a way that's difficult for no reason.
Very fancy.
Very fancy for no reason. It's kind of a similar phrasing. We just use this expression, though. To bear a resemblance means to look similar to have the appearance is similar.
Yeah.
Not completely the same.
Right.
But enough that it could be confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to bear here means to hold, and resemblance means similar.
Yeah, resemble.
Apparent, yeah.
To look similar. Right. So really, everyone, it is just a fancy way of saying they look similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look almost the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, if you want to kind of sound fancy, this is what you want to say.
Yeah.
Okay? And Travis says, what should you do if you aren't sure?
Yeah, Grandma says, with mushrooms, you should put them in a separate bag and inspect them closely when You are armed with a guidebook or an expert.
Okay.
Sorry, not expect, inspect them.
Okay.
Yes, inspect them closely.
All right, so Grandma is telling Travis what to do, put them in a separate bag, and then when you have a guidebook or you have an expert, then you can check it out, right? But it's an interesting way of saying armed with a guidebook.
Yes.
So I really get the feeling that Grandma, the way she speaks, it could sound a little old and a little bit formal.
Yeah.
Okay? If you are armed with something, what does this mean? Do you have a gun?
You could.
Yeah.
In this case, not. But this means to be equipped with, means to be holding equipment.
Right.
Right? So you have some tool or machine or something that will be useful in performing a task.
Yeah.
So here you're armed with a guidebook. Armed originally is talking about weapons.
Yeah.
Like we have the term firearms to talk about guns,
right.
essentially.
Yeah.
But here, armed, it's the same kind of root word, but you can use it things for like guidebook, which is a tool that's going to be used in performing a task.
Right. And I think the reason why she chose armed with the guidebook is that this is going to maybe save your life.
Yeah.
Like, this is really going to be very, very useful. So I think that is why she used the term armed with.
Yeah, there's some intensity. Like, with saying instead of equipped with even, if you say armed with, it feels like, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah, that's right.
So you could even say something like, students are armed with a number 2 pencil and going to take this test.
Yeah.
There's a feeling they're taking their pencils and they're very furiously going to be completing that test.
Right, right.
That is the feeling with armed.
That's right. Like you have a mission.
Yeah.
You have a purpose that you're going to do. And that guidebook, that pencil is going to help you get there.
Yeah.
Okay. An expert, quickly, that's our power vocab.
Expert is someone who has specific knowledge in a field.
Okay,
So,
right. You could be like, you know, an health expert.
Yeah.
You can be like a, you know, mechanic, automobile expert.
Yeah, history expert.
History expert.
Dancing
Yeah,
expert.
sure.
Chopsticks expert. I don't know.
Chopsticks? Okay.
Maybe.
Travis says, lucky for me, I have both today. Okay, this is our power pattern. Lucky for me.
Yeah.
Why didn't he say, oh, I'm lucky?
Yes.
Or, yeah, why lucky for me?
Right. So here, lucky for me, it's often used when you're like telling a story about something good that has happened to you. Here, it's not really a story, but he is commenting on the thing like, oh, wow, I'm blessed.
I got lucky.
I got lucky. Something good happening to me. So if you want to say something like that in conversation, this is probably the most common way to introduce that statement.
Right.
Lucky for me. And then you say what is good for you. Like
Right.
what good thing happened to you.
That's right. So it's one of those things where I didn't plan it, but hey, lucky me. It's that feeling of like, oh, I got lucky today.
Yeah, I didn't brush my teeth this morning. Lucky for me, I had a mint in my pocket.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Or I have a toothbrush in my pocket. Okay. What does Grandma say?
Make sure you can identify it properly before you make the worst decision of your life.
Okay, very important tip. Make sure you can identify it properly. Okay? Make sure.
Yeah, this means be careful to do something.
Yes.
Definitely do something.
Right.
So make sure to identify it properly. It means, hey, do not make a mistake with identifying these mushrooms.
Yeah, you need to triple check.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Okay? So you really need to be very careful.
Yeah.
And so Travis says, the guidebook says if the underside is brown and not blue, it's safe. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat blue mushrooms either.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's kind of crazy. You think of like our ancestors, they were just eating all those mushrooms. Some of them were poisonous.
Well, some of them probably
Some
died.
of them taste like beef.
Yeah.
Others, you know, sometimes they make you see weird things.
Right.
That had to be a crazy time in history.
Oh, yeah. You're learning as you go.
You're learning, yeah.
So we're very grateful to all of our ancestors for writing everything down. Let's go ahead and listen to that one more time.
This mushroom isn't as easy to identify. It bears a resemblance to a very poisonous one.
What should you do if you aren't sure?
With mushrooms, you should put them in a separate bag and inspect them closely when you are armed with a guidebook or an expert.
Lucky for me, I have both today.
Make sure you can identify it properly before you make the worst decision of your life.
Okay. The guidebook says if the underside is brown and not blue, it's safe.
It's time for Power Note. Please join us on pages 118 and 119. If A bears a resemblance to B, it means that they look similar.
Yeah.
They share similarities, okay? You look a lot like your mother.
People say I also bear a resemblance to my grandmother when she was my age.
So it is a fancy way of saying, I look like my grandma.
Yeah.
Or I look like my mom. I bear a resemblance.
Yes.
None of the 5 siblings bore a resemblance to each other.
Yeah.
You know, some siblings, they don't look like siblings.
Like at all.
There's no resemblance.
They all have different hair color.
They all
different
have
body
different
shapes.
features. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so bizarre.
It is true.
Okay.
I will say this resemblance thing in both of our examples here, they are related to like family and people.
Yeah.
I think that's the most common.
Yeah.
We can use it with mushrooms, like in the dialogue. But I will say, if you're going to, because we talk about a family resemblance where everyone in the family looks similar to each other.
Right.
I would not, in regular conversation, use the word resemblance with like objects.
Right.
It's possible. There's nothing actually wrong with it, but using this kind of fancy language
Yeah.
towards an object is a very special case that I don't think happens that often.
Yeah, I think that this is something that you would maybe see in writing
Yeah.
more than in spoken language. And for our listeners out there, Power English listeners, you are also second language learners. So I would recommend that maybe if you want to sound fancy in a presentation or a speech, go ahead and use it. But in everyday conversation, just use simple words like looks like or, you know, they take after.
Right.
Yeah.
So one awkward way it would not be used is, oh, wow, this year's Christmas party bears a resemblance to last year's Christmas party. You would not say that, even if they do look similar. Like the decorations are mostly the same. Everyone in attendance is the same. You probably wouldn't use it.
Yes.
So I would mostly use resemblance for things like people, maybe animals. I guess in this case, mushrooms can work.
Okay. All right. If you're armed with something, it means that you have what is needed to succeed. This is going to help you accomplish your mission.
Yeah. Mission is a good word for this.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're fighting with it.
It's true. And that's why I feel like the word armed is like usually you're armed with a weapon.
Yeah.
And so you're going to go fight in battle.
You're like Tom Cruise with Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I don't know, sunglasses that explode.
Okay. Do you feel like you got a good education, Dad?
Yes, when I finished high school, I was armed with the knowledge it took to succeed.
Okay.
That's my dad voice.
Yeah. That's your dad. Nice voice.
Thank you very much.
The soldiers were armed with the latest smart weapons. Oh, yeah.
So here, as you can see, it is often with real objects.
Yeah.
But the father in that first dialogue is armed with knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge is a weapon.
That's right.
It's a powerful weapon.
It sure is.
It can be used for good or evil.
Now you're Grandpa Cameron.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
A
it's
wise
true.
grandfather.
Yeah, it's a very kind of like eloquent way. It's a real sort of kind of poetic way to say that knowledge is super important. You're armed with knowledge. Okay. Armed with weapons. Armed with, a guidebook.
Yeah.
Armed with one more.
Armed with, well, we talked about a number 2 pencil.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Armed with a calculator.
A calculator.
Like, my dad, armed with a calculator and, I don't know, all of his receipts. He did his taxes for the year. Yeah.
All right. So it's like it's going to help you accomplish your mission.
Yes.
Okay, make sure means, okay, be careful not to forget to do something. Okay?
Definitely do this.
Definitely do it. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
Make sure you bring your passport and a printout of your itinerary.
Okay. So one time, many years ago,
Oh, no, you left
to
your
the
passport.
airport. Yeah, all the way to the airport. No passport.
No.
So fortunately, someone was at home, sent a taxi, and was able to get the passport
Oh, my
and then get on the
goodness.
plane. It was crazy.
Wait, did the person get in the taxi, or did they just put the passport in the taxi by itself?
Yeah, just gave it to the driver.
And so, was the taxi in the back? Was the passport in the back seat by itself?
Yeah, it was. I
Did
guess
it have
so.
to buckle up? Did you have to
It
buckle
did.
up?
It did. All right. I always make sure to carry a protein bar with me in case I get hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Cameron, he cannot handle hunger.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay. Lucky for me is our power pattern.
You use this when you're about to say something good that happened to you.
Yeah. That's right. Lucky for me, I didn't have any credit cards in the wallet I lost.
Yeah. So you're telling a story and you're like,
Yeah.
I lost my wallet.
Oh.
Oh, that's not good.
But lucky for me.
Lucky for me, this good thing, there were no credit cards. Lucky for me, I didn't get sick when my wife caught the flu.
Yeah, I could have.
Yeah.
But I got lucky. All right, expert is our power vocab on page 120. Do check out the definition, and let's thank our sponsor.
한국토익위원회에서